Hello, my name is Nancy Burrington. I'm with Hands in Harmony Wellness Company, and I am excited to present this Mental Health Awareness Month presentation that is more than a month. So let's get started with our presentation. During this time, we're going to go ahead and talk about different things about turning awareness, your mental health awareness, into action. Some of the things that happens is that we know what to do. We've been through the classes. It's kind of like we're wearing a t-shirt. But one of the things that we do have a problem with is putting what we learn into action. And so for the next hour, we're going to go ahead and talk about that. And for these are going to be the different topics that we're going to be talking about. And so that help you to understand what needs to be done and kind of setting up a plan and how we can go ahead and put what we've learned about mental health and putting that into an action. And then we're going to also conclude with a meditation. Now I'm going to have a lot of videos and going to talk a little bit about it. And then hopefully it will kind of give you a time to kind of make up your own action plan on how you can implement your mental health, the things that you've learned during mental health awareness. Let's get started.
Every May, Mental Health Awareness Month reminds us to pause, reflect, and acknowledge the importance of mental well-being. We wear the ribbons, we share the hashtags, we attend the webinars, awareness is growing, and yet, so many still suffer in silence. Awareness is only the beginning. Real change comes when we take that awareness and turn it into action. Action can be simple: a conversation, a boundary, a breath. It doesn't have to be big to be powerful. Mental health support isn't just for counselors or clinics. It's for all of us. It lives in homes, offices, break rooms, and churches. Every action you take sends a message. You matter. I care. You're not alone. Let this month be more than awareness. Let it be your turning point, from knowing to doing, from talking to changing lives, starting with your own. You don't have to be an expert to be a lifeline. You just have to show up.
So as we can see, one of the different things that we want to learn is bridging that gap. What is that gap? It's from knowledge, information, into putting that awareness into action. And we've been doing these presentations for quite some time, and you've also had a lot of presentations and workshops that talks about mental health and mental awareness. And one of the things we want to do is kind of help you to take all of that information and then taking that into making it to an action and start implementing what you've learned. And so one of the things that we want to be able to do is what are some of the issues that you have that we've learned? We've gone through mental health awareness and we found out about how important sleep is, how important setting boundaries and why they're good. But do you apply them? And one of the things I want you to kind of think about as you're listening to this presentation, and just take a few minutes and try to figure out what mental health practice you know you need to do to make it more practical for you. And I want you to go ahead and think about that a little bit. And I want you to write that down. And we kind of going through a lot of different things. So I'm going to just give you a few minutes to write that information down. Okay, I think you probably have something written down. And I want to go ahead and look at the fact that we don't think about it. And one of the things I hear a lot of people talking about, let's say for instance, sleep. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Well, understanding you've had presentations on the importance of sleep, and you also know the importance of sleep because you know how you feel the next day about getting to work and when you only had maybe 3 or 4 hours of sleep. We understand that sleep is very important for our mental well-being and also for our physical body because when you're not getting enough sleep, you're worrying about different things. You're not gonna be able to function. You're not gonna be able to function when you're worrying about different things at night and then waking up in the morning, early in the morning, and just continue to being tired. And then after a while, that just becomes a cycle. And your body's going to start talking to you, not whether it's going to be falling asleep at the wheel while you're driving to work or dozing off at a meeting. It's going to start showing up not only physically in those type of things, but also in the fact that you're not going to be able to do the job effectively as you would want to. And then when you can't do your job effectively, then what happens in the long run? You start missing deadlines. You start becoming short-tempered with your co-workers, with your supervisors, or even your employees because of that lack of sleep that you're having. You start becoming anxious, and it starts impacting your physical being too with between anxiety and nervousness and short-tempered and just a slew of different things that can happen when you don't have that sleep. So whatever it is that you need to start making a practice of, let's keep that in your mind. And I want you to kind of think about why you don't do it. What is it? You just got a busy schedule. You're feeling guilty for setting boundaries. So next to that practice that you think you need to do a little bit more of, I want you to put next to it your reasons why and be honest with yourself, okay? So that's going to be your assignment throughout this presentation.
We learn, we listen, we attend trainings, we repost tips about self-care and stress management. But knowledge doesn't always lead to action. It's called the knowing-doing gap, that space between what we know and what we actually live. We know rest is essential, we know boundaries are healthy, we know asking for help is okay, but why don't we act on it? Sometimes we're better at offering advice than applying it to ourselves. Fear, guilt, habit, stigma, busyness. These are some of the silent barriers that stop us from turning intention into action. But change doesn't require giant leaps. It starts with tiny choices. One deep breath, one honest conversation, one step forward. You don't have to do it all. Just start doing something. That's how awareness becomes action. You already have the knowledge. Now give yourself permission to live it today in small, meaningful ways. Don't just learn wellness, live it.
So hopefully that's kind of giving you that pep talk to start putting into action. So while we're doing that, you already know that one area that you know you need to work on. Kind of identify, being honest with yourself, why you're not doing it, if it's guilt, lack of time. So now we're going to kind of figure out how we're going to go ahead and create what we call a mental health toolbox.
Life doesn't pause for mental health. It keeps coming. Demands, deadlines, responsibilities, and somewhere in the middle, you. You are not alone. But mental wellness doesn't require big moves. It starts with small tools, everyday choices, simple habits that protect your peace. The first tool is the daily check-in. Then we have boundaries that honor you. And finally, a resource list before you need it. The daily check-in invites you to name how you're really feeling without judgment. Naming it gives it less power. It helps you respond instead of react. Boundaries are an act of self-respect, not selfishness. You cannot pour into others from an empty cup. A phone screen lights up. A text comes through. Can you help me today? The person pauses, then replies, not today, but I can help tomorrow. Your resource list is your safety net. Don't wait for a crisis. Have it ready for you or someone you love. These tools aren't complicated. They're consistent. They remind you that your mental health matters every single day. Choose one tool this week, practice it, make it yours, then build from there. Your peace is your power. Start with one small step.
One of the things that when we're thinking about trying to put into practice things that we want to do a little bit better on, it takes approximately 66 days to create a habit and to make that habit a matter of lifestyle changes for you. And one of the other things that when you're thinking about it, if, for instance, you talking about sleep, getting more sleep, and looking at why you don't get enough sleep, we're going to use that as an example. And you may say it's because I have a lot of work I have to do. I have to go home and take care of the kids and cook dinner, and I'm looking at emails and I'm doing stuff that I couldn't get done at work. We know since the pandemic and when people started working more at home, they start taking their computers at home. And when they take their computers at home, they start continuing on work after 5 o'clock, after they physically left work. And if you're still working at home, you know you stop working at 5 o'clock. And if you an hourly worker, you work into 5 o'clock. And that means that after 5 o'clock, you shouldn't be working, right? So some of those things that's kind of keeping you from doing that. So what you want to do in this practice of getting more sleep and knowing that you're feeling guilty or you have a really busy schedule, you're going to start making a plan on how you could implement that. Now, that plan is going to take at least 66 days approximately for you to go ahead and be full-fledged into it, okay? Now, one of the things, and also to doing that when you're building a habit, a new habit into something, a lot of people say, well, I am going to go ahead and stop um, making these big meals. Okay, that is a kind of an aggressive thing, especially when your family is used to these real big meals. And all of a sudden you're going to say, well, starting next week, I am not going to be cooking all these big meals. One, your family's not going to agree with you. They're going to grumble and get mad and everything else. And you might start feeling guilty because now you're changing this. So, and creating a new habit, set a goal, and in that goal, say 66 days, I am going to do this. And in doing this, I am going to start doing it a little bit at a time. Okay. That means taking small bites. Do not try to stop fixing your huge meals all at once. You may just say, we're going to go ahead and make a one big meal once a week, twice a week, or something like that. So make it understanding 66 days. Also make it bite-sized, something that you can do and achieve without a whole lot of complications. One of the things that I've done is you're going to get a handout with this presentation, and it's called your mental health toolkit. And it is kind of reset, reflect, and renew. And I've given you different things that you could do on a daily basis. And one of the things you want to do is what I call a mental reset checklist. Okay. So whenever you're doing something new, you want to go ahead and make sure you're in the right frame of mind and doing it. Because if you're not going to do it. You're going to go back into that habit you've had before where you know the information and you don't do it. And then you still be on that treadmill, that not treadmill, but that little circle thing that you keep going and going and going around and not accomplishing a thing. You get mad at your boss, you get mad at the people that's supposed to be helping you and say, this is not working for me. And the problem is you're not working what you have with the resources that you have. So use this checklist, this little mini toolkit that I've gotten and given to you, and put that together. And at the same time, while you're doing this, you can start adding on to it or taking away from it. But one of the things you always want to do as far as practicing the changes in your lifestyle is doing a mental check. Where am I? Okay. How am I feeling this morning when I'm getting up for work? How am I feeling after I get home from work? You know, what kind of day it is? Do I need to kind of take a breath, do a little breathing? Do you know that a 3 to 5 minute, what we call deep breathing exercise, resets your nervous system? Resets, okay? It resets your nervous system. So if you find yourself being really wound up with a lot of different things that you're trying to do, take a breather. One of the other things is too is affirmation to reframe negative thoughts. If you're saying, I can't do this, you already set yourself for failure. This is impossible. You already set yourself for failure. So kind of build kind of positive affirmations that you could go ahead and say, I know I could do it. It's just going to take me a little bit of time, but this is something that I want to be able to do. Find you different quotes and mantras and different things that's adding positivity to you. Because if you're already saying negative things, guess what? Your body, your mind, your mindset, everything's going to take on that negative, and you're not going to achieve anything. And then also setting boundaries. Put that in your toolkit. Saying no to somebody who's asking you to do something that you know you're not able to do. Saying no to them is saying yes to yourself. And we talked about this in other presentations. Saying yes to yourself is not saying it's not being selfish. It's saying I need to understand what I can do, what I cannot do, and what's going to go ahead and cause me to be happier, more at peace with myself. So start setting boundaries. May do a little bit of boundaries, but don't feel guilty about it. You know, just go out there and do that. And one of the things you could do when you're setting his affirmation for setting boundaries is I honor my need without apology. Think about that. And then also some of the self care tools that you could do is what we call the breathing technique. And we did a lot of different breathing techniques, and I have examples there. And then when all else fails, seek help. You have a good resource if your insurance, and Heather with Health Texas, she'll definitely be able to help you in getting any kind of professional help that you may need. And so always use her. So basically, as we was thinking about this and talking about this, what type of tool do you think you're going to try this week to help support your mental health? So what I want you to do is to go ahead on your sheet of paper that you've written the one thing that you want to do and what's hindering you from doing it. Now I want you to kind of pick a tool because you're going to have the handouts with this. I want you to pick a tool that you want to start using to helping you implement your to implement and to help improve your mental health. So go ahead and take a few minutes and write that down. Okay, let's continue. You should have something down on paper by now. Let's bring it on home. One of the things when you're talking about bringing it on home is conversations that matter. Because whenever you're implementing something, you want to be able to have that conversation not only with yourself, with your coworkers, with your boss, with your family, because you can't do something in a bubble, especially when it's going to be impacting other people. So we're going to talk a little bit about conversations and how that's important.
We talk about news, we talk about weather, we talk about what's for dinner. But how often do we talk about how we're really doing? Mental health conversations don't have to be clinical. They can be casual, simple, gentle. The goal isn't perfection, it's presence. Start by noticing a shift in mood, a quiet withdrawal, then ask, how's your heart today? Not just how are you, but deeper. Sometimes listening is the most powerful thing you can offer. No fixing, no advice. Just a space where someone feels safe to share. Encourage, don't push. Let people know that it's okay to not be okay, and even more okay to ask for help. When we normalize mental health at home, we teach our children courage, we model vulnerability, and we build emotional safety that lasts. Mental health doesn't always look heavy. Sometimes it's laughter, togetherness, feeling seen, feeling safe. Let's make space for real talk. At the dinner table, during bedtime stories, or while riding in the car. Every check-in counts. Mental health begins at home. Be the one who opens the door.
So when we're talking about mental health talk, isn't just for crisis moments. And when it gets to be at crisis moments, that's when we start, that's when it's almost kind of means it's too late. Not really too late, but at the same time, there's been saying that you've been holding on to a lot of different things. You're not talking, you're not expressing yourself. So we want to go ahead and start doing the things that we can do by having a healthy conversation with those who it's going to be important with. And also with this packet of information, I've given you some different topics, conversation pieces that you can have with children, with your elders, and with your partners. And you can also add on to that with putting your own little suggestions on there because it's really important that we start doing the conversations with people. If you think about it, within the last, I would say, 5 years, really, or even longer than that, and I want to use the analogy, the little story, cell phones. Cell phones, ever since, it was a nice tool in the beginning, the means of communicating with other people in a more remote environment versus being at home and having a phone only at home. So now you can use a cell phone to get in your car and go different places and have a phone immediately available. And then when they started having the ability to text message each other, now you have the means of communicating with other people. And the funny story is that I had gotten the iPhone when it came out. Well, a couple of years, I want to be honest, a couple of years after they came out. And my son had a cell phone, so he was visiting, and we was traveling for Christmas, and we was in New Orleans, and and it was just like, oh my gosh, I got this new little gadget. I got a cell phone, I got an iPhone, and I could text. So my son, we was at the table, dinner table, and I started texting him at the dinner table because it was just so fun. It's kind of really, this little neat tool. Unfortunately, and that was almost 15, yeah, actually about 15 years ago. But since then, we're using that tool of the cell phone texting each other more as a means of communicating with people than face-to-face conversations. I went to a restaurant one time and there was a mother, the father, and their child. Each one of them was at the table in the restaurant on a cell phone. And they had a little tablet for their 3-year-old. Was it about she was about, I'll say between 3 to 5 years old. A tablet. She was on her little tablet. He was on his phone and she was on their phone. No means of communication. Nothing. So it's not like, how are you doing? How was your day? Um, how's everything going with you right now? Or, what made you smile today? What happened at school or kindergarten? And what is your favorite thing to do with your friends? We've lost the means of communicating with one another. And because of that, a lot of people have gotten to the point where they feel unseen. No one takes them serious. No one cares about them. Um, and it's really sad that we've gotten to that point. And we know a lot of that has come up during the pandemic when people was really isolated from one another. And people didn't have anybody to talk to anymore. And not only with the fear and the panic of the pandemic, the COVID virus and everything, there was a lot of people that really became very depressed because they wasn't able to communicate and engage with other people. And engaging and seeing other people on a text or a phone is completely different than being able to have a conversation with that person where you could be seeing them face to face, eye contact, seeing a body language, expressing yourself a little bit more verbally than through a text message. And so we talked about this a little bit. And so even when you're talking to your coworkers, just expressing yourself in a very cordial way, because if you're feeling angry or upset about something, use the tips in our previous slide on your mental well-being. How am I feeling right now before I start this conversation? Do a mental check. And if during that mental check you feel I am very angry right now and I want to have this conversation, but before I have this conversation, you realize you're going to have to check yourself because you did that mental check and you say, I'm angry. So take a couple of deep breaths, ground yourself a little bit, seeing where you're at, seeing that the conversation that you want to have with this person is going to be meaningful and impactful by not getting angry and shoving all of that anger at them. Or you could always kind of start the conversation. I'm very angry right now. So I'm going to take a couple of deep breaths before I start this conversation. And I want to be able to express to you how I'm feeling right now. But I'm just going to take a deep breath and then say, I'm ready. Because you don't want you want the conversation to be meaningful and impactful and to have some correspondence with the person that you're talking to. And so, and doing that at the same time, when you're kind of talking to them or want to see how they're doing, who is it you need to check in on? Not only yourself, we need to check in on ourselves, but checking in on somebody, a coworker, somebody that that you know that's been kind of, there's something going on that wasn't really, they seemed really distant at work or very sorrowful at work, or this is not usually like them. So, who do you think you could check in on? So, kind of make a list, one, as far as conversations that matter. Have that conversation with yourself and kind of put yourself into check. Having a conversation with your immediate family that you see, before work, after work, and even you do call them between work hours. And then who else afterwards, and then even your coworkers. So kind of make a list of who you want to be able to talk to and try not to do the conversation of Texas. It's good, it's really quick and easy, but sometimes a person is going to say, I'm fine, and that's it. But if you was able to talk with them on the phone or see them at with a coffee break or something, or lunch, you can see based on their body language, or you can even see that the eyes look puffy, that there's something going on. So I want you to go ahead and kind of, make a list and check in on who you're going to try to talk to this week and write that down too as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about being the ripple, being the advocacy and what you can do to get things engaged within yourself. Because one of the things in communicating, even if your mental health and mental well-being, there's been studies that show that when you engage with others, when you engage in volunteer work, when you engage with your community or different activities, that changes your mental well-being. because you're giving more. You're kind of getting out of your head a lot of different things that's going on, and you're giving to others. And when you're doing that, that changes the dopamine in your brain, and that starts changing your whole mental well-being. So let's be the ripple. Let's go out there and start making a difference.
Every act of care, no matter how small, creates ripples. In a world where silence surrounds mental health, your voice becomes a wave of change. You don't need a title to make an impact. You don't need a degree to advocate for wellness. You just need to care and act. These small actions create safe spaces, they spark healing, they invite others to step forward too. Community isn't built by systems, it's built by people. People like you, showing up with compassion and courage. Your story may be the lifeline someone else has been waiting for. Don't underestimate the power of being real. I struggled, and I found help. You can too. When we bring mental wellness into our workplaces, our churches, our neighborhoods, we create a culture that sees people fully. The world doesn't need perfection. It needs people who care enough to act again and again. You are the ripple. Your action inspires action. Your courage heals more than you know. Be the one who starts the wave.
I um I want you to go ahead on your little sheet of paper. I want you to share one thing you could do in your workplace or community that can help spark some changes and something new. And well, if you want to kind of do something for that, go ahead and, as far as doing a distribute mental health resources or something. But I want you to kind of write down and think about what action you can take this month to promote mental health in your circle, work, church, or other places to kind of help promote not only enhancing your well-being, but also the well-being of others. I'm very transparent. I share a lot of stuff about my life and everything else. And just recently I lost my husband. It's been recent, 3 years now. But there's something that I would talk to people about, and that is about grief. And they talk about the 6 stages of grief and everything else, but there's some things that they don't talk about, the emotional, mental aspects of what a person is going through. When they talk about the 6 stages, they talk about the denial, the acceptance, all those different stages. But what they don't talk about is the guilt, the physical that it has on the body. It doesn't talk about the brain fog, a lot of different things. And as I started going through that journey of grief for myself, I started doing a lot more studying. And also, grief comes in different forms. It's not just grief in the death of a spouse or death of a child, even the ending of a marriage or a relationship. If you look at some of the things that a person goes through in that in any type, you're going to see that the sleeplessness, being tired, being aggravated, short-tempered, brain fog, physical pain, a lot of the different types of things that a person goes through in grief are some of the same things a person goes through in what we call post-traumatic stress, PTSD. So when I started sharing that with people, as I was going through that journey of grief, people didn't understand. People did not know. And it started bringing more awareness to other people, not only to what I was going through, but what other people may be going through who may have been just going through a recent divorce and or the loss of a child or just any life-changing problems. And so by me sharing that experience, I became the ripple to helping other people understanding, and they became more aware. And as they became more aware, they was able to help other people. And so what I'm going to charge you to do is to be in the ripple. What can you do at your workplace, even at your home? You can start small at your home. What can you do to make changes in your home environment? What can you do at your workplace? If especially if you find at your workplace, but you spend almost, let's say 8 hours, now unless you're a nurse or a doctor, and it may be 12 hours, or a healthcare professional, it might be 12 hours at the workplace. That's a lot of time to be spending with a lot of different people. What can you do to help promote mental awareness at your workplace? Not only just by having classes, but what can you do to cause to change and make more interaction, more positive interactions at your workplace? What can you do to make more positive interactions at your community? So what we're saying by being a ripple is that let's take all the things that you've learned through all the different programs during mental health awareness. What are you doing to make changes within your home? Well, let's say first, before we do the home, within yourself, your home, your workplace, your community. So I want you to think about what action you can do to make that change. So what we're going to do, jump.
Today's
What we're going to do is just do a quick meditation. And I just want you to kind of, we did a lot. And I know with mental health awareness, and we've been talking a lot about mental health awareness for quite some time. I would say almost 5 years, almost, there's always a topic of mental wellness every month, and you're experiencing this. But I want to take some time for you to being able to take all of that in and to feel more comfortable with your space and what you're doing and how you're doing it, and to get a little bit more clarity. So we're going to go ahead and take some few minutes and just do a guided meditation. And as we get started, I want you to be able to get yourself in a nice, comfortable position, whether or not you're at home or listening to this video at work on your break. I want you to just get yourself nice and comfortable, whether or not you want to lay in on your bed, sitting in your chair at work or at home. Make sure that you have a sign or tell everybody in your household, Mama or Daddy's getting ready to take a little mental break right now, and I'm going to do some meditation. And if you want, you can even invite them to join you. And so if you're going to be sitting up in your chair, I want you to go ahead and get comfortable. And I want your back to be straight up against the chair. I want your chin to be up so that you get a nice clear inhale and exhale. You can put your hands in your lap. I want you to uncross your legs. And I just want you to just take some nice, even breaths. And when you're ready, we're going to get started. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose on a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale on a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last time. 4, inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now just breathe at your own pace, real nice and easy. If you find yourself getting distracted and having a thought race across your mind, that's okay. It's your thought. Just recognize that you have a thought and you don't have to do anything about it. And just breathe and just start going back and focusing on your breath. Breathing in and out. And then after a while, that thought will just go from one to the other as you're focusing on your breath. Now I want you to, as you're breathing in and out, I want you to focus on your feet, just being aware of any sensations that you may have in your feet, your toes. Just be aware of the sensation. You don't have to do anything about it, but just being aware of the sensation and how it's feeling. And as you're breathing in and out, you find yourself just relaxing a little bit more. And as you move up to your calves, just feel your calves, the muscles in your calves, the blood pulsating through the veins in your legs, just breathing in and out. If you find any discomfort in your calves, just be aware of it. You don't have to be doing anything about it. We're just now being aware of all the different sensations that's going on in your body. It's allowing yourself this time for you to focus on your body and your body to tell you what's going on. So as we move up to your thighs, just breathing in and out, noticing the sensations in your thighs as it's sitting in the chair. Any pain or discomfort, it's okay. Just be aware of it. As you move up to your abdomen, your chest, just be aware of all the movements in your trunk area. Breathing in and out. Any fleeting thoughts or worries that may come up, just be aware of it. You don't have to do anything about it, but just going back to your breathing and focusing on your breaths. Just now sinking more and more into your chair, feeling the back up against the chair and the sensation that you're having. Moving up to your neck, your face, your head. Just feeling the sensation of warmth enveloping all the way down from your head to your feet. Just relaxing. And as we close, just be familiar with the sensation. And when you're ready, you can wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So we're going to talk about in summary.
Today's journey guided participants from passive awareness to empowered action. Module 1, Mental Health Awareness, more than a month. We explored how awareness is the first step, but it's our actions, however small, that truly create change. Mental health isn't a trend, it's a daily priority. Module 2, the knowing doing gap. We acknowledge the space between what we know and what we live. We encouraged attendees to gently close that gap with self-compassion and one small intentional act. Module 3, your mental health toolbox. Attendees were introduced to 3 simple tools: daily emotional check-ins, honoring boundaries, and building a ready resource list. These are daily wellness anchors anyone can adopt. Module 4, mental health conversations that matter. We emphasize the importance of real talk at home and in our personal lives. Just one open, caring conversation can shift a person's life and open doors to healing. Module 5, be the ripple. Participants were inspired to become everyday advocates, not by doing more, but by being present, authentic, and compassionate in their communities.
One of the things that we do have a problem with, we have the resources. You have a very good health team of people that's there for you to support you. But the one thing that they cannot do is to put into action with the resources that they're giving you. The one person that can do that is you. So, as we talked in the beginning, look at what's going on in your life and what can you do to make the changes. Mental health is not just about you. It's also about the people that's in your circle around you. And there's people there who is impacted by your mental well-being. And so you want to be able to, one, if there's something that's going on, to be able to help and get the resources. But if there's something that you see going on in other people's lives, to be the anchor to help them, to be the ripple to help them get the help that they need. And there's nothing wrong with getting help. A lot of people think when they're asking for help is a sign of weakness, but actually asking for help is a sign of strength. It is being aware of what's going on within yourself and seeking the help because you want to be able to do well, not only for yourself, but also for other people. So if you do have any questions or any concerns, you can also go ahead and reach out to your health team and they'll be able to help you. And then also, if you have any questions about this presentation or any of the services that I could provide at Hands in Harmony, you can reach me at this phone number, or you can actually go ahead and email me at that email address. So I'd like to say it's been a pleasure, as always, being a part of Health Texas Wellness Program and presenting you with different classes and sources of information. And so I want to be the ripple, and I hope that after this that you want to be the ripple in somebody else's life as well. I thank you all for your time and attention, and you have yourself a wonderful day. Thank you so much.